Hello once again, everybody, and welcome to the Manny Diaz Show. Joe Zagacki alongside University of Miami head coach Manny Diaz and my broadcast partner Don Bailey Jr. This week the Hurricanes are home against Pittsburgh. 12 o'clock kickoff at Hard Rock Stadium. Last week the Canes were in Death Valley in a tough one, coach, on Saturday night. The number one ranked team in the country, they looked every bit the number one ranked team. What were your thoughts when you look back at it?
Yeah, obviously not our best performance. I do think our guys played with great effort, and I thought we competed and battled until the end. But we simply made too many mistakes to be able to compete against a team of Clemson stature, and obviously their best players played like their best players. I mean, you can see why we said that Travis Etienne is maybe the best player in college football, and Trevor Lawrence, everybody knows about him. So you got to give those guys credit. But it's important for us to bounce back and self-analyze of each individual performance and find a way to improve off of it.
Coach, you were burdened by a ton of penalties, and of course you had some giveaways as well. What's your breakdown of that after you've had some time to analyze it?
Well, we went as a team. We actually looked at every penalty as an entire football team, and we classified them in different categories. There's pre-snap penalties, there's during the play penalties, and then there are post-snap penalties. And really, you don't like any penalties, but you can live with the ones that happen during the course of the play. I mean, that's the game, right? The ones that we can avoid are the pre-snap ones. We had way too many of those, and then some of the post-snap ones where you get into some of the back and forth. So our guys saw that. They know how much that hurts us, and a lot of it really just comes down to attention to detail and doing the little things right.
Coach, one of the big keys, and we knew this going in, was third down. And early in the game, the first half, third down was in their favor. What makes them and what made them so difficult to defend on third down?
They're going to throw the ball to number 9 on third down. I mean, the whole game plan, it was all about stop number 9 on third down. And they did a better job of getting him the ball than we did stopping it. That's the bottom line. I mean, the matchups, they did some nice things in the screen game to crack the player that we had designed to take on number 9, or getting an offensive lineman out in front. Again, I mean, they know, right? They know too that he's so important, so they were going to do anything possible to try to get him going, and it did. It created some big conversions for him.
Coach, Miami's offense was faced with a moving defense, to describe it as plain as I can. A lot of odd front, but there was never just 3 guys coming, or rarely, I should say.
No, yeah.
They were coming from everywhere. The most movement, really, I think we've seen all year.
Yeah, they were in a 3 down, but they were really in a 4 down front. They took an outside linebacker, and he just basically blitzed off the edge, every play, and just chased down the running back, and then they kind of scraped the guy for the quarterback right behind him. That's not unusual. I mean, those are things that you've seen. What really happened is our inability to get off the field defensively in the first couple of drives kept our offense off the field for such a long period of time that you really didn't even know what their plan was. Hey, is this something they're going to run once or twice, or is this going to be kind of their deal? And the way the game started, how often Clemson was able to possess the football in the first quarter, kind of made it difficult for our coaches on offense to really figure out what exactly they were facing until we almost got halfway through the second quarter.
They did eventually do a good job. You mentioned the outside, and they did a really good job on the perimeter. But I also thought they dedicated a lot of resources to De'Ara King, kind of paid him a compliment and said, our eyes are going to be on Miami's number 1.
Yeah, there's always, we've talked about it. There's multiple ways to try to get after a quarterback with the talents that De'Ara has. You can try to drop everybody and have a spy. You can try to or bring a lot of people and just sort of surround him and try to take away all of his escape lanes. And that was an option that they chose. And there's a plus and there's a minus to that. I mean, that you can also create, the more people you send forward, obviously, if he can get through the line. He had that long run in the second quarter. We were disappointed in the way we protected at times. And it was a great example of guys trying to do too much. You get into a game like that, and what happens, you see it like in basketball, you hear the expression playing hero ball. We'd have a lineman that would see a linebacker, coming on a blitz and decide, you know what, I'm gonna go help out on that guy as well, instead of just doing your job, trust the running back to pick up the linebacker. And really, if everybody just picks up their guys, there will always be a natural escape lane for De'Ara to scramble. So some of that caused a jumbling in front, which really kind of kept him hemmed in the pocket.
Coach, three phases in the game. We're kind of hitting on the offense and defense, but your special teams, nothing less than spectacular. I mean, there was a few things on punt return with Restrepo, obviously, with a young guy in there, but being able to block three field goal attempts, and then your kicker did a great job, and then Hindley was on point all night long.
Yeah, our net punt was fantastic. You mentioned Restrepo. The first one, I don't know if people know this, but the first one, they touched the ball. So he could actually pick the ball up without any penalty to the team. The second one was a little, of a freshman moment that, he will not have again. But as you mentioned, for as poorly as we played in the first half, the blocked field goal and the return for a touchdown, it really gave us a chance. We had the ball. We were getting the ball start the third quarter down 11. We don't score then, but then we get the turnover, and we're still down 11. So really, it had this feeling. We were very optimistic on the sideline that even though we had not played our best half of football, it was a game, and we were in it, and ultimately, eventually let them, pull away. But we had our shots because of what we did on special teams.
Maybe one of the big parts of that was you're down 21-10. They love to dominate the final 4 minutes of the second quarter and the first four of the third. You got the touchdown to end the half, and then got the turnover to start the third quarter, but couldn't parlay that into points.
Yeah, we call that the middle eight. That's a big deal to us as well. And I think there were three really key moments of the game. I think obviously the 4th and 4 where we should have intercepted the pass, but we line up off sides. The 3rd and 9 where they get called for holding, and then Lawrence scrambles and we get the targeting, which at the minimum would have been a 3rd and 19. Those are their first two touchdowns. So that gets us, those are possession downs, should be 2 back-to-back stops. Worst case scenario, 0-0. And then, what happens. We get it to 21-10. And then I think the point you just mentioned, we get the turnover. We've got the ball in their territory. We've got some momentum, the block kick, now the turnover, the sideline's really into it, and we throw the interception. And I think that was the moment to put some pressure on them, get it to 21-17, shoot even 21-13, let's make it an 8-point game, a 1-score game. So ultimately, those are the moments that you have to have in a game like that. You got to play well to beat those guys. There's a reason they haven't lost here in a long time, and certainly we didn't play well enough to do that.
Manny, when I think back about last year and some of the struggles that your team had, this team did not give up. They didn't buckle. They were in it for the full 60 minutes. And that's a big accomplishment, in my opinion, from where it ended last year to where you are just in week 4 through this season, that these guys are giving you everything they've got on every single play and not ever getting discouraged.
Yeah, they play hard for each other. I mean, they really do. I think we just have a great character of player on our team. And I get it. It's college football, and it's easy to think of a story that, is linear from last year to this year. But we see it. I mean, look at some of the teams. Look at LSU and the start that they had compared to where they were a year ago. Teams change. It's just the nature of college football. Teams change from week to week at times. But we do have good leadership in the locker room. We do have a connected team. But we know that is tested every week. And Pitt is a team that's going to test that. I mean, it doesn't, there's no letdown. There's just a really good opponent coming to Hard Rock Stadium this weekend that we've got to be ready for.
I wanted to ask you about the targeting and ask you it this way. The quarterback is 6'6". In pads and run, he's like 6'8". And the University of Miami is not the only team who's had a player ejected trying to tackle him. Ohio State lost their All-American defensive back in the first quarter in the semifinal game. Both times, and he's a big strike zone, both times you hit him low and lost 2 players. In there also, maybe in the rules should be built in, a player has to take care of himself a little bit. He's 6'6". He runs upright. He presents himself as a huge target.
Yeah, well, we know at University of Miami, we're never going to teach anyone to lead with the crown of their helmet. That's for our safety. Forget about who we're hitting. I mean, we don't want anything to happen to that guy either. But we're definitely trying to protect our guys, and we know hitting with the crown of our helmet exposes us to injury. So that's never taught. It's never encouraged. I will say that defensive players are obviously in a difficult bind.
Yeah.
Keontre is free on a blitz, and right at the moment of truth, everything is telling you lower your target to not get what? To not get targeting.
Right.
And so he hits him in the belly. And I have a hard time remembering the last time I've seen a player ejected for hitting someone in the belly. And yet here we are. So I get it. And again, I never saw a great replay, and there may be one that exists, of what did he really hit him with the shoulder or the helmet or whatever, but it's harsh. And then one more point, and I've said this before, but I'll say it every time I have the opportunity. it would be so simple to make a targeting 1 and a targeting 2. Okay, that play should not eject a player, right?
Right.
The play we want the player ejected, the receiver coming in the middle and the guy launches and tries to, run through the guy's head. Like we've pretty much have gotten that out of our game, which is a great thing. But that play is not that. It could be a foul. We could discuss whether that should be a foul or not. But there's no way that player should be disqualified, not just for that game, but for the first half of another game. I can't think of a rule in any other sport as punitive for something that is just a play. I mean, in the NBA, right? We don't want to become the NBA, but in the NBA, that the violent act or whatever, a non-basketball act. I mean, the counter is just tackling the guy. So it's unfair, but that's the rules as they're meant to be enforced right now.
Manny, the healthier team, a hard-fought battle, night game on the road. You come back and everybody's tired and sore. But how's the health look for the Pitt game?
Yeah, I mean, we should be pretty good. We're obviously during the course of the week, we're always going to check with our trainers and see what what they have to say. But hey, listen, one thing we knew, and this is not just with us, playing 10 straight in the conference, it's going to be a war of attrition, and depth is going to really matter this year, not just for Miami, for everybody. And you'll see it all around college football. So, number one, we want to keep our guys healthy, obviously keep our guys COVID-free, and hope to have all of our guys available Saturday at noon.
I wanted to bring this up before we go to break for conversation. You're a big Heat fan. They uplifted the community. We saw Jimmy Butler be pushed. By the way, I think Bubba Bolden's your Jimmy Butler. But how do you explain to kids, you're going to this Pittsburgh game now. This is what life is about. You get pushed, right? You're going to get pushed in life, whether it's Don selling carpet, us doing radio. You're going to get pushed in life, and that's kind of the exciting part of life, when you get challenged and pushed, and can you figure things out?
That's exactly right, and it comes down to having a standard, right? And then once you set a standard for performance, then in a weird way the opponent doesn't matter, and the setting doesn't matter. We're just going to play the way we play, and I think that's part of the reason why the Heat did so well in the bubble, because whether you play the Heat, in a jam-packed American Airlines arena, it would have been great to have Game 6 at home, but the culture that they have, that's a hard-working team that's going to play hard for each other if they're playing on a parking lot somewhere. I mean, that's just the way the Heat have defined themselves. So we understand at Miami that we're going to get everybody's best shot. Clemson played a lot better against us than they did against Virginia. So we've got to play to our standard every week, and the only way to do that is you have to prepare to our standard every week. So it's important that our Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of preparation matches Clemson and every other week, because there's no big games, little games. That's what we've fallen into the trap at Miami. That's just another ACC team. These are the teams that Miami has struggled with because at times not giving them the respect that they deserve.
It's Miami and Pittsburgh coming up Saturday at Hard Rock Stadium. When we come back, we'll have the breakdown segment right here on the Manny Diaz Show.
It's now time for the breakdown segment with head coach Manny Diaz. And coach, what do you have for us today?
Well, now we get a chance to talk about some special teams.
All right.
It's Jonathan Packey does a great job, leading our special teams units, and obviously we've talked about Borigalis and Headley, but there's always 10 other guys on the field with them, and our defensive staff, puts together our field goal block plan for the week, and obviously they had one of the best weeks in school history, blocking 3 kicks, including 1 for a touchdown. So I just wanted to kind of unpack that, show a little bit of what that looks like, some of the effort that guys get that it's sometimes hard to see on TV.
All right, let's go to it.
Okay, so here's our first one right here, and again, you can tell a lot about a football team by the effort that they play with in this type of situation. And so, the question is, what we always say is, who is a block designed for? And what we say is a block's designed for everybody, because you don't know who on the protection team might fall asleep and let someone come through. So right here, great effort, even by our 2 inside guys. That's Jalen Phillips. That's Jade Silvera. So they're not going to get it, but this is a precursor for later, because they are giving great effort, knocking the guard back. See the guard's body right there, knocking the guard back. And that's just what you want to see. Guys selling out, whether they have a chance or don't have a chance. But ultimately, it's going to be Bubba Bolden. But Bubba Bolden's not going to block the kick unless Al Blades, who's off the edge, goes so hard that he makes number 5 right here make a decision. And 5 decides to step out. 5 can't pick up that inside foot, but he does because he's worried about Al Blade's speed coming off the edge. And by doing that, that lets Bubba come in free, partially blocks the kick. You can see the referee right here give the block kick sign, which takes, that shouldn't have been roughing the kicker anyway. So a big momentum play, stopping points right there for Miami.
Coach, when you talk about Bubba Bolden laying out, I think it's fair to share with our listeners that you actually practice that. You practice players laying out and getting their hands together and hitting the ball and not the kicker.
That's right. Yeah, we have a crash pad that we'll work on right here. We do this for a pump block drill or kicking. Sometimes we'll kick volleyballs, believe it or not, because they're just, obviously they're softer and you don't want the guys to, in practice, to hurt a finger or something like that. I know that sounds funny, but, you're trying to take care of your guys, or we'll take a football and we'll deflate it. So it's kind of like, a more squishy football so that, it lessens the impact if you're trying to do it over and over again in practice. But that way when they get in the game, they've got the confidence to get back there and make the play.
Okay.
So here's a huge one, right? Right before halftime, 3 seconds left. And one thing you can't see right now, you say, where's Bubba Bolden? Okay, well, Bubba Bolden is way back here off the screen, ready to return the field goal for a touchdown if it is short. Okay, because there's 3 seconds left. This is going to be the last play in the half. So we have a chance to block this and a chance to return this for a touchdown. Okay, so again, we're going to come off the wide side of the field right here again. And remember what I talked about. So Bubba Bolden, he's back there. Remember we talked about that great effort from the inside guys. Jalen Phillips and Jared Harrison Hunt is in here now for Jade on this particular sequence of downs. And see how the ball snapped just about on the line right here. And watch how they get their hat 3 yards deep almost in the backfield. Longer kicks are going to have a lower trajectory, which is exactly what happens here. And then what's Clemson worried about? Well, last time we blocked it off the edge, so they try to maybe widen out. They want to be more sturdy on the outside, and now they have a problem on the inside. Okay, so now we have a good down. Now let's see if we can make it a great down. And what's fantastic right here is DJ Ivey is taught. He's what we call our scoop and score guy. He gets right at the level of the kicker, is there to play a fake, and then if the ball is blocked, then he's right there to literally scoop it and score. But what's funny, and it's a small little detail, because we put Bubba Bolden back, where are these guys going?
Covering.
They got to cover the kick.
That's right.
Because they're taught, hey, listen, on long field goals, you got to cover because they watched Alabama-Auburn a few years ago when Auburn, had the old kick 6. So DJ Ivey right here gets a charity hop, bounces to him real nice, and then just look at the effort. You want to talk about a guy like Jalen Phillips. It's fun to watch him sack the quarterback. Watch the effort. So he drives all the way through the line, never stops his feet, and look at him sprinting. That's a large human being right there, Don.
Yeah.
Look at that effort all the way as DJ, outruns their kicker, thank God, all the way for a touchdown. So humongous momentum play right before halftime, gave us a chance in the third quarter to get back in the game. So a big-time effort right there. But it all stems from effort. And again, just watch on the inside. Great effort right there. You see the guard ends up with his head down. Guys going hard. Zach McLeod going hard. The guys don't get their name called out because they're not the ones that block the kid. But because they're going hard, Zach knocks that tackle back. It just all helps. Everybody going hard allows somebody ultimately to make the play. But that's where we all share in it. We feel like everybody had a chance to make something happen.
Helps that number 81 had a career in basketball coming out of high school,
yeah,
too. He got elevated, didn't he?
That's just a shot block to him.
Yep.
You know what I mean? He did that plenty of times over at Christ the King. So big-time play. And now you smell blood. Now you got confidence, So it ends up being on the same hash. So we're going to come off the exact same way. Again, now we're back in our normal unit because, we don't have a returner deep. It's not a long kick. And it's the same deal. Great get-off watch. I think that's Gilbert Frierson. Great get-off on the snap. He actually beats Jalen off the ball. Great get-off. He gets into 13. And this time 5, they told 5, hey, listen, you got to keep your inside foot. But Gilbert knocks 13 so silly right here that Bubba's clear, free, and again. So, again, great effort there. Corey flagged. Holy cow, can you imagine being a true freshman and all of a sudden a ball pops up? Now, we would always say anything past the line of scrimmage, we want to get away from it because we get the ball back. But anytime it comes up, we always call it, if you get a lollipop, an easy one, let's get it because let's go try to score in this situation. And really the coaching point here, we've got to do a better job of, we've got a chance to set a wall. If we would just turn and look and set a wall right here and kind of get engaged on these guys, to where Corey could have gotten this thing out here outside the numbers, and we could have scored 2 touchdowns on this unit.
Manny, what are your qualifications to be on the field goal block, the down guys? What do you look for in those players?
Well, it's, these are the guys that are on our defense, right? And that's why we meet as a defense when we look at field goal block. And the primary thing is effort, and we're talking about effort and knockback, which is really not all that different to how we play. So, we've got John Ford and Jade Silvera. That's, roughly 600 pounds of man, right? Line up on one right here in the guard. And then there's Jalen Phillips. So we have 3 on their 2, and then 3 on their 2. So we've created a numerical mismatch on this play because we saw some things in film study that felt like would give us a chance. And now it's just a matter of effort and going hard. And that's why I love doing this on the breakdown, because you see the effort of a guy that doesn't get his name called out, like a Frierson, who played outstanding on defense. I mean, these were also, by the way, our 2 best players on defense. We're 21 and number 3. And no secret to watch both those guys go so hard, and then who ends up getting it, it ends up being Bubba again.
One rule change that's happened is that you're not allowed to tee off on the snapper any longer. You have to go to the right or left of him, right?
Yeah, you can't even line up on the framework of his body anymore. It used to be you couldn't hit him, but now you can't even be lined up on him. That's right. And you also can't have a jumper, jump from deep. That used to be a rule, a way people block kicks. So they have tried to make it different for player safety, but effort still solves a lot of problems, and I was really proud of our effort on this unit. Again, in a situation where you could say, oh, the score's out of hand, what's the point? Our guys wanted to score every time Clemson lined up in this formation.
All right, Coach, well, thank you. That does it for the breakdown segment with our head coach, Manny Diaz.
Canes and the Pitt Panthers Saturday at Hard Rock Stadium. Thanks to University of Miami head coach Manny Diaz and Don Bailey Jr. I'm Joe Zagacki. We'll see you next time right here on the Manny Diaz Show.